Okay.
Thank you. So what we do is usually, as we close the yatra, we try to do a bit of visualization for a couple of reasons. One is there's an opportunity to relive the yatra and highlight the specific places and the experiences we have had in the yatra, right? So that's the important thing, because generally our experiences in life is highlighted by, or our memories of life are highlighted by the experiences that we have, right? And those experiences could be good, bad, whatever. And we have a choice to establish what experiences we want to highlight and keep in our memories. We have a choice. Right? A lot of times when there is something that disturbing events happen, we highlight and we store it. Right? And then it keeps coming back to us. We visit a place, even though there are some 5 good things and one good thing didn't happen, or one thing went bad, we kind of highlight that one bad thing. This is the way the mind works, right? And then whenever you think about the place, our mind thinks about that one uncomfortable or discomforting thing that happened, right? Like for example, it's very natural for us to think of chariot and mosquitoes together. Yeah, chariot resort and mosquitoes go hand in hand, right? So, what I would like to do is spend a few moments that we walk through the events of the day that we went through. It may not be exactly in the right sequence. I try to do a little bit of revision in the morning in terms of sequencing, because other problem happens is when I'm doing this, I'd like you all to close your eyes and follow the visualization. The mind may say that no, after this we did this and all that, so don't bother about those things, right? It's not the chronology that is of importance, it is the experience that you're wanting to capture. Because give it 2 years time from now, the chronology wouldn't remember also. You won't remember the exact chronology anyways. It doesn't matter really. So, I'll go through the day sequence as we started coming in. I'm not going to bring in the Prayag and the Kumbh, because only 3 of us went there. We will start from where we came in for this yatra, the Odra Desh Yatra. And then we will try to think about each of those places and the experiences and the visualization that we had in those places, and we try to establish that in our memory, so that when we think about these, it gives us the experience that we want to experience about it. Understand, our experiences are your choice, right? It is not always driven by your conditioning. We have a choice to make an experience out of whatever event that happens. We have a choice how we want to make it as an experience. So I'll start with that. So just listen through and follow through. It will probably take us 15 minutes or so. And then with that we kind of will close the yatra. Yeah? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So the preparation of this yatra began at least 2 to 3 months ago, and we met together about 42 days before the yatra, actual yatra. And we started chanting Vishnu Sahasranamam and Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yeah? Because the principal deity of this yatra was Jagannath. Jagannath was the principal deity, although the idea of this yatra was to visit as many places of faith as possible across various belief systems. That was the idea of this yatra. And then as a highlight, of course, Sri Jagannath Ji, he stands tall in terms of his presence in this region. And you would have noticed many people, as you would have met, they greet each other as Jai Jagannath. Right? The greeting in this area or this region goes by the name of Jagannath. So that is his influence in this region. But we also went and saw other beautiful places which are of great significance. Right? So we assembled together on the 31st of Jan. Evening, night, different people came at different times. We checked into the hotel. We had a dinner. And then we went up to the rooftop and had a short briefing. Where we kind of spoke about what we're going to do the immediate next day, what are we going to do through the yatra, and how we're going to plan our days out. We had a briefing at the rooftop. The weather was nice. There was cool breeze. And then we went back to sleep, to our rooms. The next morning, 1st February, we got up. It was a Saturday. We gathered around the mini banquet hall there after breakfast. We gathered around and we did our morning prayers with a small Laddu Gopal that Anjali had brought. We had got flowers the previous evening and we offered flowers to Laddu Gopal and we did the prayers in the morning. And after the morning prayers, we got into the bus and we moved towards Udayagiri caves. So Udayagiri, Khandagiri are a set of caves where the Jain monks had found a place for meditation for many years. They spent a lot of time in silence in these caves. I suggest you all keep your eyes closed. And in the Udayagiri caves, we noticed how these beautiful caves were structured to allow for silent meditation. We all spent about 10 to 15 minutes sitting within the cave, within one of the caves, spending some time in silence. And then from there we moved out. We saw the beautiful carvings on the cave walls. And as we came out, we went to the Lingaraja temple. The Lingaraja temple was known to be, or is known to be, a Harihara Kshetra, which is a combination of Vishnu and Shiva. When we went into the sanctum, recall the image of Lingaraja, which is a linga with a crescent moon, a golden crescent moon that was there on the top of the linga, adorning the linga. And then from the outside, remember the structure of the temple we saw. At the top was a bow. And they said that is what is the representation of the Harihara principle. And then we sat there for a short while and then we left Lingaraja temple and we moved on to Ananta Vasudeva. It was a short walk to Ananta Vasudeva where we saw Balarama and Krishna. We had a quick view of them and then went to have lunch. Lunch was in an open area and that was our first experience having lunch in a temple precinct in Odisha. After lunch, we went in again to the sanctum and we all sat and chanted Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Ananta, there is Balarama. Sorry. Ananta is Balarama Vasudeva as Krishna, and there was Subhadra. All the three deities were standing in white marble with their eyes glowing. We also chanted, some of us chanted, Om Namo Bhagavate Ananta Vasudevaya Namaha. So as you notice in these temples, Balarama carries equal significance as Krishna, because that is the position that Krishna has given to Balarama. And wherever you saw the snake symbol, that is Balarama. He is the Adi Sesha, the Ananta Sesha. So from Ananta Vasudeva we had lunch and we came back. We rested at the hotel. And then in the evening we went to Ram Mandir. At the Ram Mandir, recall the deity we saw, Ram, Sita, Lakshmana, and then there was bhajans that was going on there. The weather was very beautiful. The structure of the temple was exquisite. We did Pradakshina. And then we sat there for a while. We sat at the Ram Mandir for a little while. The beautiful moon was slowly growing. There's gentle breeze. And then we left the Ram Mandir, went back to the hotel for the night. Next morning was a Sunday morning. It was the morning of Vasanta Panchami, and we had a plan to go to Viraja Mandir, Viraja temple. It was a long drive. We drove down to the temple. This is where Devi's Nabhi supposedly have fallen. So this is a Nabhi Kshetra. The whole Odisha as such is the Kshetra of Devi's navel. Wherever you go, you will see that resonance of Odhyanapita or the Nabhi repeatedly coming through. In Viraja temple, in Vimala Mandir, all of those places. So Viraja Devi was a small short Devi with beautiful eyes. We sat there, we had a satsang where we tried to do some visualizations around how Viraja Devi is cleansing our bodies, our minds, our thoughts, our emotions from inside, from outside. Viraja means the one who cleanses all the fluids in the body, all that flows within our body, the blood, the fluids, the thoughts, the emotions. And we also did Pindadan. There was a place there where we could do Pindadan to all our forefathers. And by means of doing Pindadan, we also sought Viraja Devi's blessings to cleanse our karma. The karma associated with our forefathers, with our relatives, with the people that we know, all kinds of karma bondages to be cleansed. And then we found a spot to have lunch at Viraja Mandir. It was a large hall. We sat. We tasted ambula, which is a very tangy kind of a taste. We enjoyed that. We also had kheer. Very good tasting kheer was served at the end of the lunch. And from there we got back into the bus and we moved towards Chhatiya Jagannath. Chhatiya Jagannath, recall the structure of the temple. At the outset, the temple looked very different. We had to wait for an hour for the temple to open. We went back to the bus, we waited there. And then we went into the temple. As we walked in, we could see a lot of mural paintings on the sides of the wall. One side was Ramayana, the other side was Krishna stories. As we walked into the temple, we noticed very, very unique deities and sculptures and paintings. We also noticed how Balarama in white color was facing the mirror, so we could only see Balarama through the mirror, Balabhadra. Through the mirror, we had to walk across, go around. A huge, imposing face with large eyes, holding a sword in his hand. We peeked into the mirror to see the full face, and we were chanting Om Kleem Krishnaya Namaha, Om Kleem Krishnaya Namaha, Om Kleem Krishnaya Namaha. We kept chanting this mantra. The whole temple felt very tantric in nature, in terms of its practices, in terms of its reverberation. There's a lot of energy the temple carried, and the energy was of awe and of peace and calm, and a certain mystery around it. As we walked within the temple around other sanctums, we saw Krishna and then we saw Subhadra. They were all facing in the same direction, sideways, and we could only see them in their side profiles. Balabhadra or Balarama was white, Krishna was black, Subhadra was dressed up in a sari. And this temple was a symbol of the new order after the end of the Kali Yuga. And we saw Kali, we saw Durga, we all had a beautiful experience at this temple. And then we moved out of the temple and we returned to the hotel. We came back to the hotel, we had dinner, and after dinner we had a Prayag Kumbh Mela sharing session, after which there was a cake cutting for a few of us who had turned 50, and we retired for the night. The next day morning, we had to go to Chaushati Yogini. We chanted Lalita Sahasranamam in the bus. And we visited Chaushati Yogini. Remember and recall the space that we went into. A beautiful structure which they say inspired the structure of the Parliament House. It is a circular structure with the height of the wall of about 6-7 feet.
Yes, absolutely. Different origins.
And then you go in and you see the 64 yoginis sculpted on the walls around the whole structure. And in the center was Mahamaya, the main deity. We all felt tremendous peace and a very serene, surreal feeling that was there. In fact, we were not feeling, we were not wanting to come out of that space. And fortunately, the weather was also extremely good that morning with wonderful breeze. And there were prayer chants going in the neighboring temple. So that was Chaushati Yogini. And we moved out and we went to the Dhauli Stupa, the Buddha Stupa. Recall the sleeping Buddha we saw, the sitting Buddha and the sleeping Buddha. We sat there and we meditated for a little while. This is right on the banks of the river where the infamous Kalinga war had happened. So we sat there for a little while in silence. And from the Buddha Stupa, we came down. We then drove to Siruli Mahavir Hanuman temple. This Hanuman was orange in color, with the face turned towards the right. Remember this face. One eye was supposed to be seeing the Jagannath temple, and the other eye is pointing towards Sri Lanka. We sat there, we waited for the darshan of Hanuman, we chanted Hanuman Chalisa, we did bhajans. And we had lunch there. We spent about an hour at the Siruli Mahavir temple. And after lunch, we came back to the resort in Puri, checked into the chariot resort. And then in the evening, we went to visit Jagannath's temple. Visualize the crowd at the temple, how we had to fight and wade our way through to see Lord Jagannath, Subhadra and Balabhadra or Balarama. On the right side was the dark colored Krishna or Jagannath. In the center was a small statured Subhadra, and on the left white colored Balarama with their large eyes, with a small pupil, large white eyes, seeing all the way from far within. We couldn't care about the crowd, we just went in, cutting through the crowd. And all we could keep hearing is Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath. And all we were chanting was Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. As we cut through the crowd, some of us were able to go all the way in the front. But we were able to see the Lord. This was the main experience of this yatra, seeing Jagannath Ji, making ourselves available to His grace. Now what happens, we leave it to Him. but we allowed ourselves to be in His presence, in front of those large watching eyes. Carry those watching eyes with you all through your life, all through your incidents, all through your events, all through your engagements. Whenever you want to draw upon grace, Jagannatha means He is the Lord of the universe. Jagat Natha, Jagannatha. So whenever you want to draw upon His grace, just visualize that large white eyes. And know that He is watching. Know that He is watching you wherever you are, however you are, whichever condition you are. He is ever watching. Let us make ourselves available to that grace all the time. Not just during this yatra, but through all our experiences of life. The next morning we went to Konark Sun Temple, a beautiful towering structure. Just recall the visual image of the whole chariot. The whole temple structure was a chariot, a huge chariot with large wheels, built about 1300 years ago in the honor of the sun god. And we were there on the Ratha Saptami day, on the day of Surya Jayanti. And we chanted Aditya Hridayam in the morning. And we chanted Jagannatha Ashtakam. And with that, we came back. A few of us got an opportunity to visit Jagannath again. And we saw a much closer version of the Lord. The same eyes, just much closer. Those who were not able to make it can still visualize those eyes. It is like scaling an image, a high resolution image. You scale it as big as you want. It will still look clear. From far it looks clear, from near it looks clear. Because all that you have there is those ever watchful eyes. And a few of us visited the Govardhan Mutt, set up by Adi Shankara. We sat and meditated for a little while. We will go there this morning. But what we carry from this yatra, remember, through all these days, we went to several places. We went to places of Jaina, Bauddha, Shakta, Shaiva, Vaishnava, and Shaura, sun worship. So we went to all these places of worship. It is for us to sit and introspect what it has given us. How do we integrate all of this within us? How do we make this experience part of us so that we are enriched by many ways, through several ways. Whether it's Devi's grace or Jagannatha's grace or Shiva's grace or Buddha's peace or Jaina's calm, it doesn't matter. All of these we require. We need it in our lives so that our lives are enriched. So that we don't get sucked into the samsara. So that we don't get drawn into our daily humdrum of life. and we remain above all of these. We remain above all of these by means of reminding ourselves of these places that we have visited and the experiences that we carry. The last verse of the Jagannatha Ashtakam goes, Haratvam samsaram drutataram asaram surapate Haratvam papanam vitatim aparam yadavapate Aho dine nathe nihita charano nishchitamidam Jagannatha Swami Nayanapathagami Bhavatume. Shankara says, O Lord, please remove my attachment to this samsara quickly, which has no intrinsic joy. In comparison to the joy of your devotion. O Lord, please take away my sins take away my sins so that I can stay in your devotion. And may you remain the center of all that I perceive. So like Adi Shankara, or like many other saints like Jayadeva, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, great saints have visited this place and they lived here in this land. Let us absorb the spiritual energy of this place. We may have found many places which are not clean, unclean. We would have had many discomforts. We will have discomforts in life. Throughout our life, at different places and different journeys, we will have discomforts. But through a yatra, we bring upon those discomforts to ourselves consciously so that we clear off those experiences of discomfort and raise our minds above the discomfort and try to think and remain in the thought of the Lord. Whether we do meditation, whether we do Nama Sankirtanam, we do Japa, let us resolve to ourselves through this yatra that we take up some sankalpa and continue to do our practices, continue to do our sadhana in some form or the other. Our experiences of the yatra are very personal, very individual. Each one would have picked up something, each one would have experienced something very unique. Keep it to yourself. Share the beautiful things out with everyone. For all the logistical inconveniences that we may have, it's important as a learning so that we pick it up for the next one and better it. But let it not stay as a dominant experience. Let only the beautiful spiritual experiences that we gathered stay with us and enrich our daily lives through our daily transactions, through our daily engagements. Hari Om.